Well, it is the ultimate Queen's duel. It is Koneru Humpy versus Divya Deshmukh at the FIDE Women's World Chess Final. It is the most anticipated clash in Indian chess history, a generational battle where experience collides with youthful brilliance. It is a battle of veteran versus prodigy, calm versus fire, strategy versus instinct. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a title that crowns only one who will conquer the 64 squares. This is not just a match, it's a legacy-defining showdown. Two queens, one throne. Let the mind games begin.
In a game of strategy and silence, where queens rule the board and legends are born with every move, today the spotlight falls on two of India's finest. Koneru Humpy, the name that once echoed through the corridors of world chess, a prodigy turned pioneer, Humpy broke barriers and records to become one of India's greatest ever. And now enter Divya Deshmukh, the fearless force of the new generation, national champion, online blitz beast. At just 18, she is already rewriting the rules. Today's showdown isn't just a match, it's a moment, a passing of the torch or a bold refusal to hand it over. Humpy brings depth, discipline and decades of top-tier play. Divya brings fire, flair and a fearlessness only youth can offer. One looks at the board like a battlefield, the other like a playground. Koneru Humpy versus Divya Deshmukh, the clash of queens, a battle of generations, and in the end, no matter who wins, the future of Indian chess stands proud. NDTV Bureau Report.
Well, joining me on the broadcast at this moment is Akash Das Gupta, senior sports journalist. Akash, before I talk about what is going to happen in the match, who is going to play in what manner, etc., what I want to know from you is, who are you rooting? And you have to pick a side.
Because traditionally I haven't picked sides. No, so when it comes down to this particular encounter, Osama, of course, it will be played over two matches, two classical games, and a tie-break if needed. I would have to go with Humpy on this one. And I'm going to go with Humpy because, firstly, because of the format, that it's a classical format that they're playing in. And also because if you look at the overall head-to-head between these two players, in particular, Humpy and Divya, overall they've played 9 games, 9 matches. Humpy's won 5, Divya's won 2, and 2 have been draws. But in the classical format, Divya's yet to beat Humpy. They've played each other only twice. And Humpy has won one while she was playing with white, and the other one was a draw. So just going by those statistics alone, Osama, I think I'm going to be rooting for Humpy, and I think Humpy might win this one.
So you're basically saying that it is experience over youthful, exuberance, youthful energy that is going to prevail.
Yes. Yes, because of the format, because it's a classical format. See, it reminds me a lot, Osama, of the T20 versus Test clash, or impact that T20 has had. That's
actually a great analogy, Akash. I would say that. Also, what I want to understand is, how might this pressure of being the first Indian player, first Indian woman to be in this particular position, who's win the World Cup. Do you know the kind of pressure that both these players would be under? It would be immense. And having said that, who do you think is prepared to handle that pressure better?
So again, going by the fact that Humpy is more experienced, firstly, look at the age difference, the age gap between the two. Divya is exactly half of Humpy's age. It's 38 to 19. Also, when it comes to being the first in things in chess, Humpy has experience on her side there as well. Remember, she was the first ever Indian female chess player to get the title of Grandmaster. And she, in fact, became Grandmaster at the age of just 15, if I can remember correctly. And at that time, that was a record. And post that, that's been broken by only one person, just one other player. So she's still the second youngest player, female player ever to become grandmaster. So when it comes to being the first, or standing on the threshold of history like that, I think Humpy has experience on her side once again. And if you just look at the game that she plays very the classical version very, very well, because she, again, going back to the T20 test reference, she came up at a time when the shorter formats weren't really very popular, and they weren't really around. The rapid chess or blitz chess, they weren't really played a lot, and Humpy came up at that time. Divya's come up at a very different time, because obviously the generational gap. So Humpy plays that classical chess, I think, a little bit better. Divya is a more aggressive player. There's a certain school of thought that believes that Humpy comes with opening moves decided. And yet there is another school of thought that Humpy actually goes with the flow, and she actually does not come with an opening move decided. So that in itself shows you that it's, even though she's been playing this classical game for such a long time, it's very, very difficult to read a player of the stature of Koneru Humpy, who's hands down the greatest ever female chess player that this country has ever produced. Remember, she took a longish break, a break of about 2 years to take care of her family. She had a daughter, and then she came back, and then she went on to become world champion in a shorter format, in a faster format, in the rapid format. And that is a format which is dominated by younger players. So she's doing it at the age of 38, showing that she can adapt. Because, again, going back to the cricket analogy, and I'm sorry I keep doing this, but if you are a technically sound player, you can adapt to every format, as opposed to being someone who's just a slam bang player, because then you can't adapt to sort of the classical formats as such. But having said that, Divya is a fantastic player. Remember, she's beaten a Chinese player in the semi-final as well, someone who is a massive star in the world of chess. And anyone who follows chess, especially women's chess, will tell you, Osama, that the Chinese are really the ones to beat. They are an absolute superpower in women's chess. The last 3 world champions have all been from China. Both these players beating Chinese players in the semi-finals, and now locking horns in the final. India, this is already India's best performance at the Women's FIDE World Cup. And whoever wins, it's going to be an Indian World Cup winner at the end of the day. Both these players, because they've qualified for the final, have also qualified for the candidates
as well.
Next year. So, they both have still got a chance to contest for the World Championship once they go and play that tournament in 2026.
Right.
And, remember, FIDE has announced that India is going to be hosting the Men's World Cup this year from the 30th of October onwards. So, the World Cup's coming to India. And if it comes to India, obviously at a time when there's an Indian World Cup winner, because regardless of who wins, there will be an Indian World Cup winner. Lots to celebrate.
Lots to celebrate, and the fact that this is a completely different breed of Indian chess players in the country, and we can only be hopeful about the future. Akash, thank you very much for speaking with us. That match starts in just a short while from now.